What's up, guys? We are back with another Star Wars Black Series review, taking a look at the latest Walgreens exclusive, and this one's definitely a bit of a big one. So today we're taking a look at the Clone Commander OBI-WAN Kenobi figures. Definitely something that a lot of folks, myself included, are very excited about. Just a cool looking figure, and I mean, it's Obi-Wan. Who doesn't want this guy? So we've got him here in our standard Black Series packaging, figure in the window. We've got some artwork down there on the side. Of course, he has no number because he's exclusive, and then the back of the package has got a little bit of a write-up and that same artwork just blown up. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our Clone Commander Obi-Wan. So of course this is a very specific version of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he is decked out in Clone Trooper armor, which has always been something that I really liked. I think it's just a cool look for the Jedi, and it works pretty well. This is of course a tremendous amount of parts reuse. It's basically just a clone body with a little bit of retooling to get this cape to kind of work correctly. So it's something that we've seen before, and it's definitely an older body, so it does have some hindrances here and there. But it's hard to dispute that this guy looks really good, and I'm pretty happy with the way he turned out aesthetically. So let's take a look real quick and see how he moves and see what he can do. It is an older body, so it's a ball hinge neck, so he goes backwards pretty far, and he goes down pretty good. You can rotate side to side. The arms go out at the shoulder and then they rotate. Mine, which are pretty interesting because I have two of these and they're both doing the same thing, and I went back and looked at old clones and they also kind of did the same thing, and I'm not sure why. This arm does not want to go out hardly at all. The other figure that I have does not, and a standard clone trooper that I have, it also has trouble doing that. The left arm is fine. The right arm on all three of those figures from varying eras, so an old clone trooper, an online order Obi-Wan, and one I found in the store, so they weren't from exactly the same batch, I guess, so to speak. They all kind of have trouble. You can get it, but it almost feels like you're about to break the thing. So, you know, cautionary tale, I suppose. You've got a bicep swivel. We've got double jointed elbows, but it's that same old clone arm, so it has the bar in the middle, and it really only goes 90. You've got hinges at the wrist, and then of course you've got rotation. You've got a diaphragm cut, so he goes all the way around, backward, forward, bobble side to side. Legs go out a pretty good bit. They kick forward about 90 degrees, and then they also go backwards pretty good as well. You can cut at the thigh. You've got double jointed knees, but they also have the same kind of thing the elbows do. There's a big bar back there at the knee pad, so it hinders a little bit. And then you've got rocker, and you've got hinges at the ankles, but these are those old clone hinges at the ankles, so the detents on them are really weird, and they kind of hit in just the worst places. So you kind of have to work at them sometimes to make him stand. So it's a new figure, but again, he's on a really, really old body. We definitely could have used some updates, so he doesn't move as well as I would hope. He's certainly not going to move as well as like the new Sith Trooper, for example, in terms of trooper technology. But he does move decently enough. But at the same time, you know what I'm going to say? I bought this guy specifically for the looks. There's no reason to think that you're buying him because he's going to be really dynamic. You're buying him because he looks cool. And he really does look cool. There's no disputing that. So this guy is mostly just a clone trooper. There's not a whole lot different going on here. He's basically just a clone with a little bit of modification. So he's got like the discs in the chest here. The chest has been retooled to allow those discs to sit there, and that's where the cape goes through. He's also got a peg on his belt now for a lightsaber. I do find that it's not exactly well suited for that. The lightsaber kind of wants to pop out from time to time, but he does look pretty good. I mean, I dig the look, so I'm kind of biased. Like, I just like the way this looks. The minute I knew it was coming, I knew I had to get him because I'm a fan of this design. The body may be outdated, but it certainly looks like a clone trooper, so I can't fault it in terms of aesthetics. There's not a lot of paint on him from the neck down anyway. He's mostly cast plastic. There is some white in some places as far as like the elbows go, and then on the hands, and he's got like some stripes back here on the knees and stuff like that. But he is basically the exact same figure that we've had a handful of times over the years already. But the big thing, outside of the head sculpt anyway, is the cape, and I think they did a pretty good job with this. It surprisingly sits a lot better than I had expected. I would like to have seen maybe a little bit thicker material, but it's pretty interesting how it works. So it's basically just one flat piece that has armholes in it, and then it tucks in through these. So there's a little kind of like a valley in here almost that's cut through, and it kind of slides in there, and it holds it in place to kind of give it this crisscross shape, so it goes up and then out. And basically you can just see here, I can sand it straight up and it's just one piece of fabric, but then you let it fall over and it becomes that cape while also having the pieces that drape over the chest and giving you that kind of two-piece look almost when it is in fact the same piece of fabric. So I think it works really well. I don't know that it's going to hold up over time for years and years and years because it is kind of thin, but it definitely looks like it should, and I'm happy with the way it folds and the way it sits, and it's not too long, and it's certainly the right color too. So yeah, it works well and it looks good. But let's not kid ourselves here. The real star of the show on this figure is definitely the head sculpt, and I think that they're definitely showing us what they can do when it comes to an Obi-Wan head here. The original Obi-Wan is a nightmare, and we'll do a comparison here shortly, as well as the figure arts, and I think we're definitely seeing them give Bandai another run for their money when it comes to head sculpts and face printing and stuff like that. This is a really solid Ewan McGregor Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith style era Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I think that it's pretty solid. There's really not a lot to gripe about. My only real gripe, and it's a minor one really, especially when I compare it to the figure arts, is that the paint on this one makes things seem kind of soft in a way, whereas the figure arts doesn't. Everything's a little more defined. It's not a huge thing. It's certainly not a deal breaker by any means. It's just something that I kind of take away from this one, but I think the likeness is 100% there. That is definitely Ewan McGregor through and through. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You really can't be upset about this one. This is probably one of the best photoreal examples that Hasbro has put out in quite a while. Now, as far as accessories goes, he's pretty bare, but at the same time, it's Obi-Wan, he's a Jedi, so there's not a great deal to give him. You've got a lightsaber, and it is basically the same thing that we've seen previously, but the colors are a little different. So there's not as much metallic on this guy. He's mostly cast plastic. There is a little bit of gold metallic paint, but on, say, like the Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan, all of the gray parts were actually silver. So there's a little bit of a difference, but it's basically the same sculpt, if not exactly the same thing. And it's got a removable blade, so you've got a blue lightsaber there. You do, of course, have this guy, if you want to count it as an accessory. I do not. It's one of those new stands that they've been including with a few figures here and there. I've said it in other reviews, I'm not a big fan of these. I don't think they're all that helpful, and they don't really work for me in my display because they just have such a big footprint. They're really big, but they do work, so you do have an option if you want that. I like the inclusion. It's not a negative. It's just not really for me. And then, of course, we have to do a comparison between some Obi-Wan figures. So we've got our original Obi-Wan from the Black Series, the Revenge of the Sith figure, and then we've got the Revenge of the Sith figure arts Obi-Wan. So you can see that this thing is and always has been a massive train wreck, and it is just a terrible sculpt, and it's a terrible paint job. It's among one of the nastiest looking things in the Black Series. As far as I'm concerned, this is still my preferred head, but I think that the Black Series new Obi-Wan head is really, really close. There's something about the figure arts that I just really like. I think it's just the fact that some of the details are a little harder, a little bit more defined, whereas the Black Series, it's a little soft in a number of places, which I touched on briefly, but I do think that, I mean, there's no doubt about it, this is 100% an increase in just about every aspect. And you're definitely rivaling figure arts. There's no doubt about it that Black Series has got some exceptional technology going on right now, and they've done a really great job catching up to Bandai in terms of photoreal, face printing, sculpting, and just keeping them on their toes for still what is a $20 figure. And then I did mention that I got two of these Obi-Wan figures, so you probably knew why, but I wanted to see how it worked in terms of swapping out the heads on the older figure for the newer head, and then I used an extra Anakin head from the archive figure to give him a Clone Commander type of look, just to have something different going on. They don't exactly work 100% because, well, for one, Anakin's, the hole in the head is too small for the peg, so you can get it on there, but it'll take a little bit of doing. And then the peg for Obi-Wan is too small for the hole in the head, so it just sort of rattles on there. So you probably have to use some putty, or you'll have to modify it in some fashion. Also, beyond that, the skin tones don't match, so there's softer paint applications on the head that don't match the really glossy hands or the glossy neck. It's a minor thing in terms of making this figure a lot better, but it's a night and day difference. It might not be exactly what you need to see for this particular look for Obi-Wan, and this is not really the look for Anakin in this particular era either, but you can see that it does work really well, and I just need to get something to secure that head on there, and then I'll have at least a much better looking Obi-Wan. So overall, this figure is certainly not perfect, but there is definitely a reason to be buying this one, and it's mostly from the neck up, and it's a really good head sculpt, and it's a great version of Obi-Wan, and it's something a little different, something that
a lot of folks really do enjoy about the Clone Wars era is the getting them in those suits of armor. It's not the one that maybe a lot of folks identify with currently, but it's an awesome look for a Jedi to be in the clone armor with their head unhelmeted, with the cape that drapes over him. It's just a cool look, and that's really what it comes down to. He looks cool. He is definitely on an older frame, and it does have its hindrances, but he looks awesome, and yeah, there was no doubt I wasn't going to buy it, and obviously I bought two, so I was already on board. And I think if you're an Obi-Wan fan, you kind of owe it to yourself to get this one, because this might be the definitive Obi-Wan head sculpt, at least for now, and certainly for a little while, from Hasbro. So that's going to do it for this look at the Star Wars Black Series Walgreens exclusive Clone Commander Obi-Wan. That's a mouthful. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.